Today, I want to shine a light on an organization doing truly beautiful work, Dignify Dementia. Their mission is simple, powerful, and deeply needed. They help families navigate the challenges of dementia with dignity, compassion, and real-world support. They understand that dementia doesn't just affect one person, it affects entire families, and they step in with resources, education, and comfort to make sure no one walks that journey alone. And in the spirit of comfort, connection, and care, Dignified Dementia has donated something incredibly special to support the Come Together Compass, a beautifully stitched fur-lined blanket. This blanket isn't just warm, it represents the comfort we all deserve. It represents the support we all need, and it represents the kindness that keeps our community strong. Every dollar donated gets your name on the wheel of giving. $1, 1 spot. $5, 5 spots. Every donation helps us continue building the Come Together Compass, a system designed to guide families, veterans, and neighbors to the help they need when they need it most. And yes, one lucky supporter is going home with this incredible blanket from Dignified Dementia. This event runs through April 1st, and every contribution brings us one step closer to making sure no one faces crisis alone. Dignified Dementia stepped up with comfort. Now we're asking you to step up with support. Together, we can build a community where compassion isn't just a word, it's an action. And the Come Together Compass makes that possible.
Every car that rolls into your shop is more than just repair. It's someone's lifeline. Now, what if every repair could also be a lifeline for someone in need? When you join Community Pay It Forward, a portion of each job can help a family, veteran, or nonprofit without costing your customer anything extra. With the Shop, Click, and Pick program, your shop keeps cars running. Let's keep communities running too. No one needs to go it alone when we all come together. This wall took 2,500 years to build. We don't have that long. That's why your support means so much. Please, donate or volunteer and join the Community Partner Honor Wall. Because community takes us all. So please, join us today. Every Friday, people across the country put on red for one reason: to honor the women and men who left the comfort of home so we can live freely. These shirts are not about politics. They are not about a war. They are not about religion. They are about gratitude. They are about respect. They are about remembering everyone deployed. When you purchase one, you help us launch the Come Together Compass, a program built to guide families and heroes to the support that they need. Wear your pride, wear your gratitude, support Red Friday. Remember everyone deployed. Hey there, everyone. How's it going? Welcome to Wednesday night. Welcome to Community Impact. My name is Zak Clayton, president and founder, Community Pay It Forward, the Come Together Compass, and the Pact Podcasting Networks. We are doing things a little bit different because you know what? Well, we've got holidays that are starting this immediately. Friday, So usually we do these at the very beginning of the week with Footprints Forward, but we're going to do this celebration of spirit tonight on right here on Community Impact. And this also gives you a chance to see the first show every month we take and we celebrate what you celebrate out there. It's not just for Christians. It's not just for, this is for everybody. And what we try to do is we try to put it out there. And I talk in a very poor enunciation of a lot of these names, but we talk about it. We at least discuss it so people can know it's out there. I ask for a couple things from you. One, don't get mad, educate. If I miss something, don't get mad, educate. If I mispronounce something or if I leave something off, don't get mad, educate. Reach out to me, get a hold of me. And if you get a hold of me, I will correct it. I'll correct it right here on our very next show after you tell me. So we're doing this for every month because I want to make sure that everyone knows what is out there to be celebrated. Because all of us have the right to celebrate. All of us have the right to be celebrated. So I would like to welcome you to the April celebrations of spirit. We're going to be doing things a little bit different right now. We're going to go by religion. Which is something a little bit different. And these are in no particular order. Okay? This is not of importance to me or anything. Partly because when it comes to religion, there is really none that are of importance to me. I am very religion curious. I'm interested in all religions. All of them. So, I see problems with all religions. I see good things with all religions. I see people being absolutely crazy with all religions, And look, the truth is that there's a lot of good in religions, but then there's also problems. So we are going to talk about everything that we see. All right? Everything that we can find. Again, don't get mad, educate. So, again, this is for April. This is the first year we've been doing this. This is the fourth time, of course, because it's the fourth month. And April is a month of renewal, remembrance, liberation, and rebirth. Around the world, people of every faith and of every belief pause to honor their history, their ancestors, their victories, and their hopes for the future. Tonight, we celebrate the beauty of diversity. We celebrate the stories that shape us. And we celebrate the truth that every tradition carries wisdom worth honoring. Let's walk through the celebrations of April with respect, curiosity, and gratitude. This month, in Judaism, many Jewish families gather for Passover, which is also known as Pesach. Passover commemorates the liberation of the Israelis from slavery in Egypt. It's a story of courage, justice, and the belief that freedom is a sacred right. I am so sorry about that. Sacred Reich is one of my favorite metal bands of all the time, and it just kind of slipped out right there. So, not Sacred Reich, Sacred Right. So, again, that statement is the belief that freedom is a sacred right. Families come together for the Seder meal, where symbolic foods, prayers, and storytelling guide everyone through the journey from bondage to freedom. It is a reminder that no one should ever be left behind in suffering. Something we like to celebrate here at Community Pay It Forward. And that liberation is a responsibility shared by all. April in Christianity. For many Christians, April is a heart of Holy Week. April is the heart of the Holy Week. And Easter. This is the story of sacrifice, love, and renewal. Holy Thursday honors the Last Supper. Good Friday remembers the crucifixion. And Easter Sunday celebrates the resurrection of Jesus Christ. A moment that symbolizes hope, forgiveness, and new beginnings. Churches hold sunrise services. Families gather for meals. And communities come together to celebrate the promise of a life restored. This is one of them that, of course, I've always celebrated. And I know that for so many, this is the most important holiday there is. In the Christian belief. I know for a fact that in my family it was always very important because of what it means. April for Hinduism. Many Hindu communities celebrate Rama Navami. This day honors the birth of the Lord Rama, a symbol of righteousness, courage, and moral leadership. Families fast, temples hold celebrations, and the Ramayanan is recited to remind us everyone in the power of virtue and the importance of standing for what is right. Please, don't get mad, educate. Contact me right here, this little QR code. Contact me and say, hey, Zach, would you like to see what this is? I'll go with you. I'll meet you. I'd love to see what all of these celebrations are. I'd love to see how families celebrate. I don't care. I will be very respectful. I really want to see what this is all about. Sikhism. April begins Vaisakhi, also known as Baisakhi, one of the most important Sikh celebrations. Vaisakhi remarks the founding of the Khalisi by Guru Gobind Singh in 1699. It's a celebration of identity, courage, and service. Communities gather for processions called Nagar Kirtans. Langar meals are shared with everyone.
regardless of background. It's a living example of equality and unity in action. Again, I would love to see this in action. So if you're in Colorado anywhere and you hear this, if you would like to invite me virtually, I would love to join you virtually and watch what you do, how you celebrate. That would be great. I would love it. April also includes several whoa, GERP, GERPURABs, GERPURABs, honoring the lives and teaching of the Sikh gurus. Each one is a reminder of leadership rooted in compassion and injustice. The Baha'i faith. Community begins April with the Feast of Jalal, a gathering focused on unity, reflection, and spiritual growth. Later in the month comes Radavan, beginning on April 21st. Radavan is the holiest festival in the Bali calendar. It commemorates the moment that Baha'u'llah declared his mission. Please educate me, please. It's a celebration of peace, equality, and the belief that humanity is one family. Love it. Islam, depending on the lunar calendar, April may include Ramadan or Eid al-Fitr. When Ramadan falls in April, Muslims around the world fast from sunrise to sunset, focusing on gratitude, discipline, and compassion. When Eid al-Fitr arrives, it's joyful celebration of community, generosity, and spiritual renewal. Families gather, meals are shared, and acts of charity are encouraged. Zoroastrianism. They observe Adar Ma Parab in April, a celebration of warmth, light, and the sacred household fire. It is a moment to honor the presence of goodness and purity in daily life. Later in the month comes Zarathustra, no disco, disso. Sorry, no Zoroast, no disso. A day of remembrance for the prophet Zoroaster, and I'm going to say it probably has nothing to do with disco. It's a time of reflection, gratitude, and commitment to truth and righteousness. Rastafarianism. April 21st is Groundation Day. This day honors the historic visit of the Emperor Haile Selassie the first to Jamaica in 1966. For Rastafarians, this moment represents unity, affirmation, and spiritual awakening. It's a celebration with music, gatherings, and expressions of faith and culture. April in Buddhism. In many Buddhist communities, April begins the new year. This is a celebration. This celebration varies by region, but it's always centered on cleansing, renewal, and compassion. Water festivals, temple visits, and acts of kindness mark the beginning of a fresh spiritual cycle. I remember going to Shambhala here in Colorado and visiting the temple, and it was one of the neatest experiences I ever had. And it was so weird that we were just walking around. We were taking it in. The people were as friendly as you could be. They really were. And we were just walking by. They were inviting us in for meals and stuff like that. And we kindly declined. But I have an issue with eating in places I just don't know. And plus, we had people back at the camp waiting for us to come back, and we were going to eat then. And we were sitting there, we were talking, and all of a sudden, I felt this like thing just kind of playing with my fingers, and I was thinking maybe it was one of the kids that were with us at the time. And so I'm sitting there, and I start twiddling my fingers back, thinking it was just a kid. I was just talking to somebody, and I just do that. And all of a sudden I look down. It was a little deer. It was just kind of lipping on my finger. And I was like, what in the holy hell? So I didn't know what to do. So I went to go pet it on the head, and I pet this deer, and I'm like, am I in a petting zoo? What happened here? No, but it was just really neat. It is scary. It's scary for that animal, because that animal is so used to people, and now unfortunately someday it's probably well gone by now. This was over 13 years ago, so it's most likely gone. Hopefully it stayed in that compound and nothing ever happened to it. But it was just one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. Definitely one of the most shocking things that have ever happened to me. In Chinese traditions, April 4th is the Qingming Festival, also known as the Pure Brightness Festival. Families visit graves of their ancestors, clean the sites, and offer food and incense. It's a day of remembrance, gratitude, and connection between generations. Kites are flown, meals are shared, and spring is welcomed with joy. That one just warms my heart. Israeli national observance. April includes Yom HaShoah, the Holocaust Remembrance Day. And of course, this is a solemn moment of reflection honoring the 6 million. That number is still stunning. Jewish lives lost in Israel. Sirens sound across the nation, and people stop in place and stand in silence. Around the world, names are read, stories are shared, and the comment to never again is renewed. Later in the month comes Yom Hazumat, Israeli Independence Day. It's a celebration which fireworks, music, and gatherings that honor resilience, identity, and national pride. Okay, I'm going to say this. I am unhappy with what's going on in the Middle East right now. Like a lot of people, I don't cry for the leader that's gone, but I do cry for the millions and millions of people who are without homes. I feel for the kids that lost their lives needlessly and recklessly. I'm not going to stop talking about celebrations just because we don't get along with the leaders at this moment. Because I truly believe that people in general are good. And people deserve to be celebrated. So, what happened in the Holocaust? As they say right there, never again. It can never be forgotten, and we should never worry about it being repeated. Now, message to all the world leaders. Stop your shit. Come together, figure out how to live together. If it's not yours, leave it alone. Live and let live. Unless people ask you to come, get out of there. Let's stop taking over areas that aren't ours. One man's vision, one man's way of seeing things. April reminds us that the world is filled with stories, liberation, renewal, and remembrance. And hope. Every tradition carries wisdom, every celebration carries meaning, and every community adds something beautiful to the human family. When we learn about one another, we grow. When we honor one another, we unite. And when we celebrate together, we build a world where no one stands alone. This is the spirit of April. This is the spirit of unity. And this is the spirit of the Come Together Compass, Community Pay It Forward, and the Pact podcasting networks. Coming up, we relive our very first episode with our brand new show with Aviva. I am really looking forward to reliving last week's. Her show was so wonderful. And then after that, I introduce you to someone who has joined the family. And folks, I'm going to tell you right now, she has lived a life of pain and tragedy, sorrow and learning. And now she is helping people, families everywhere, get to go on vacations when they have a family member with disabilities. So please stick with me as we begin the very first April 1st, April Fool's Day. Yeah, I've already been gotten a couple times. April Fool's Day's beginning of Community Impact.
What if your story could power a movement? Every struggle you have conquered becomes the answer someone else is still searching for. At Community Pay It Forward, your mission matters. When someone shops with one of our giving partners, they can choose to support you simply by uploading a receipt. Your story gets shared, you get visibility, and you can share our program to raise up to 90% in referral awards. You have a story worth sharing. We're here to help you tell it. Apply today by using the QR code or at communitypayitforward.us. Because your story deserves to be shared. And at Community Pay It Forward, no one needs to go it alone when we all come together.
Born into a real fight wasn't right. Where can she dream here? took a hold of her life, left at night, stepping out of her fear. Bring me home.
Okay, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say it right now. The gremlins are out in full capacity today. They're doing everything that they can do to ruin a live video. That really goes to show you why I don't do too many live videos anymore. But saying that, we will be back live in 2 weeks from tonight with Lynn's Day. We will be here next week with our great friend, longtime partner, Mr. Les Simpson, as we learn more about his program. And I wanted to talk to you guys about that real quick, okay? Les has given us an opportunity to take his course as a team. And I would like to get a couple people to come along on my team so we can learn how to build your team's sales by talking, by learning other people's, how to speak to them and speak to their brain. How do they think? How do I use what I know, what I love, and match that with what you know and you love? How do we put those together and we strengthen sales? Well, if you are interested, get a hold of me at Zak, Z-A-K, at Community Pay It Forward. Once again, that's Z-A-K at communitypayitforward.us. I guess I could finish the whole thing, you know. Zak at communitypayitforward.us. We desperately need a volunteer. I'm looking for someone who understands mobile apps, who knows how to work on them, who can really help us out, who would like to volunteer anywhere from, 5 to 10 hours a week, or a month. Not a week, a month. Just come on in, help us get this thing built, help us get it started, help us get it running right. Teach me what I need to do. And if we get this up and running right and it starts moving with people, guess what? We can bring you on a full-time basis if that's what you're looking to do. You help us, we'll help you. We're looking for somebody to help the company grow, help the community grow, and just make things better. So if you know somebody who... hey brother, how you doing? Haven't seen you since the podcast. It's good to see you again, man. We need to reconnect. Yeah, we're looking for people who can help us keep the app running, because right now I'm having problems with the app and it's no longer available, and I need it to be available so we can really start helping people. So if you would like to volunteer 5-10 hours a week, it's all it's going to take, a month, not a week, a month. Get a hold of me, communitypayitforward.us, Zak, Z-A-K, at communitypayitforward.us, or my card is right there. One last thing before we get on to, get this, Aviva Chemsky Gutman. I did it! I deserve a cookie now. But if you would like to help us out, we're asking for people to donate. Donating gets you, right now we've got 2 prizes. We're looking for more. But we've got a beautiful blanket from Dignified Dementia. You saw the commercial for it just a little bit ago. But here is that blanket. Dignified Dementia has donated this wonderful, wonderful, soft, beautiful, heavy blanket to us that somebody is going to walk home with. Then, we've also been given a set of books that's talking about the rules and gives you the rules to neurodivergency and how to work with neurodivergency and with others who deal with neurodivergency, how you can better support yourself. And if you scan and donate today using the QR code up in the corner, the PayPal code up in the corner, every dollar you donate, you get one spot on the wheel of giving. And the first of next month, we're going to spin that wheel, and somebody's going to walk away with all the prizes that we gather from now until May 1st. So please donate as you can. So now that I got that business stuff out of the way, it's time to bring on our really good friend, our business partner, our family member, Aviva. This is a replay of her show last month. I thought she did a wonderful job. I thought that she was bringing on the information about tapping. It was interesting because I really didn't know a whole lot about it. I've done a lot of things. I've done the dry needling. I've done physical therapy. I've done burning. I've done all the things that you need to do. Well, Aviva introduces us to a procedure that's called tapping. And we are really glad to introduce it to you. And this is her brand new show. She's going to come on the third Wednesday of every month. This is Aviva Chensky Gutman. Hey everybody, we are very, very excited for this. We are going to be introducing some new shows this year. Extremely excited about that. And one of these new shows is with our good friend and our brand new partner in the Giving Partner program, which means anytime that you go and talk to Aviva and you meet with Aviva and you do one of the tapping sessions or the Imago sessions, anything like that. If you send us a copy of the bill of sale, she's going to donate to somebody in need that's asked us for help. So it's a way that you can not only just take care of yourself, but you can take care of others. And this is the best way we found it to do good, is if we can just take everyday business and turn that into a way where we can help others. What's the harm in that? No extra money. But I am thrilled to introduce everyone to our brand new host, Aviva Chansky Gutman. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Zach. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
You know what? You and I have been talking about this for a little bit, and then we, of course, the week that we want to record, we've got people cooking weird foods and doctors giving weird new information and everything. So it really was kind of a weird week to get this done, but I am very, very glad that we're getting started. Aviva, before we get started, I would like you to take a couple minutes and please explain to people exactly what you are, how this started in your life, and just explain all of the things that you're able to offer to people.
Okay. I am a licensed and trained social worker, master's of social work. In my state of New York, I hold a licensed social work credential, and I also have some certifications that are helpful for certain modalities. I'm certified in Imago relationship therapy, which is a modality of helping people in relationship, not just couples, but anybody in close relationship, trying to have a more connected experience to understand each other more fully. And it's all designed on really partners being present for each other. It not only applies to intimate relationships, family relationships, work relationships, but it has an expanded version called Safe Conversations that I'm also trained in, that you can use in work settings, human resource settings, community organizations. So I am certified in that. And I'm also certified in what we're going to discuss on the podcast, emotional freedom techniques, which is also known as tapping in pop culture language. And that is a modality that helps with de-escalating stress in the nervous system and also our immediate response to stress and danger and to traumatic memories. And it's a self-care option that's available to people that can either be independent of doing other methods of taking medication, or it can be in conjunction with if you're on a regime that helps you with your medical or pain or other condition. You can also use tapping as a way to downregulate when you're feeling stressed and tense and escalated. So those are my modalities currently. I'm also a practitioner of logosynthesis. That's another modality in energy psychology that helps unfreeze blocked energy. And that's a very broad term or expression of what that is about. But like EFT, we're working with the life energy system. And most of the things that upset us in our experiences are things we've kept. And technically, we've kept it frozen in our system, which is not just in our mind as a thought. It's about how we've taken it into our body, our energetic system, how we handle something that seems similar when it comes up again. So logosynthesis is through the use of words to request that energy we've taken that doesn't belong to us, we no longer keep, or energy we've given away, we take it back. And it's very much about balance and unfreezing frozen blocks and obstacles. So those are the current modalities I work with, plus, of course, engagement and talking with people, teaching classes. And through my history of social work, I've worked in medical home care, medical hospital care, hospice, palliative care, end of life care. I also do a lot of work with special needs caregivers. I myself am a parent of one special needs adult, among other children that I have. So I do a lot of using my life to enhance my work and using my work to enhance my life and to also help systems develop programs related to support for caregivers and things like that. So in a nutshell, which is almost impossible to fit it all in, um, that's sort of what I do in a nutshell, which is impossible again, but it's touching upon the areas I can help people with. So thank you for asking that. And I think I
Yeah.
can help in your community because so many people have at least something related to what I just said involved in their experience.
Well, I would say that nobody's ever going to define you in one box. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's definitely enough information and uh, different practices there that nobody's ever going to put you in a box. So,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned, and we will get back to everything in a minute, but just a second ago, you did mention the tapping. And
Mm-hmm.
this is the way I'd like to approach this question, that if we take ourselves back to like the 1800s, back in the Old West, and if you were good to go and try to discuss with an old-fashioned cowboy about tapping, he would look at you like you were a witch. Is there like, what do you say to people who think that this is voodoo or hokum or something like that? What do you tell them about tapping, and why does it work?
Well, it also depends on their frame of reference. Somebody in that situation, I'm not sure he or she would have been familiar with Chinese medicine, Eastern medicine
Hmm.
philosophies, which have been in practice for thousands of years, not just in the 1800s. And the whole basis for those theories and practices have to do with, again, energy, life energy. And to explain it to someone totally unfamiliar, it is like speaking a different language. And it would mostly have to be sort of discernment of what is the person looking for and how can I help them? And then explaining there is this method. It's very simple to learn and it's very effective to use. And it's a lot of self-administered tapping on pressure points on your body, gentle, non-medicinal. And if they said that sounds weird and hokey, people say that in this day too, when I teach a class
Hmm.
on it, because they're not familiar with it at all, some of the people that arrive to learn about it. And there's some parts to it when you have an extended version of it that involve even things like counting and humming and counting. And that's because the different parts of the brain are being utilized for the purpose of balance in the humming, the counting. There's different parts of the brain trying to sort of go between the sides of the left brain, the right brain. And those exercises in a sequence do help those parts all start to connect and calibrate together. But to explain it to this cowboy, first of all, if he's open to listening, that's wonderful. And if he's needing more information, but there's no internet yet, there are now currently hundreds of research studies about the scientific correlation and research-based information available on websites that I can direct people to learn more about it. So I'm not sure about the 1800s, a cowboy. He may not ask and he may not know how to access what I'm trying to give him as a resource. Do you know any more? Do you
Well,
know any more
you
about this
know,
cowboy?
it actually what I was, what I was kind of thinking of is there are people out there who like to have that old time mentality, and it's they have this thought, well, I don't understand how doing this gentle tapping is going to make me feel better. But if they would really look at it, and one of the truths that we have come to find out, Aviva, and you can probably attest to this, is our brain is an amazing piece of machinery that your brain can do so much healing if
Hmm.
you let it. And there's no other way to continue. If you allow your brain to do what it can do amazing things to help you heal.
Hmm.
And so something as generalized as tapping and doing that, it can do amazing things, but you have to be open for it, and you have to be in the moment, right? Would that be a
Well,
good statement there?
when you're practicing tapping rounds and you are doing it in the moment, you are accessing how you're experiencing the energy field that you experience related to a traumatic memory, limiting belief, fear in the future. You are actually, with the help of the guide or clinician like myself, staying in the moment and being walked through the steps about in the moment what you're experiencing, even though it's about possibly something in the past or a fear about the future or a limiting belief about your capacity to do something. You do work in the moment with EFT because that's the nature of how it helps. You're in the moment of your energy experience in remembering something. There's a saying in energy psychology or a question they ask that's sort of a little bit of a way to introduce people to it. You'll say, especially at workshops we have, at conferences, does the past affect the present? So what do you think, Zach? Do you think the past affects the present?
Oh yeah. Um I think the past, I think everything around us. I think everything we've ever experienced. I think everything that we're going to experience affects the present. I really think that, you can, that's why I find it hard to, when somebody says something like, leave home at home and leave work at work. I find
Mm-hmm.
that really hard to be, I find that hard. I struggle to understand that because, you're the same person. It's not like you're switching, it's not like you
Mm-hmm.
can switch one part of you off at some point in time. So yeah, if you've experienced something in a day, and an hour later, if it's still on your mind, yeah, it's going to affect you.
So the answer in energy psychology circles has to do with the past is not here. So what is
Hmm.
taking place is our current internalization or integration of a past memory or experience or experiences. What we've done is we've taken it all in. The brain takes absolutely everything in. Our entire lifespan is constantly recording everything in the moment all the time and in the past. But we aren't in the past. In the present, which is why EFT is in the present type of modality, is that we are accessing how we've integrated the information in our system, in our minds, in our thoughts that are connected to thoughts about an experience. We're like a computer. We're human computers, although we were here first, and we've integrated the information into certain files of memory. And so when we work on tapping or other energy modalities, we're accessing how we've taken in the past. So it is true, we've had a past and a lot of experiences inform us, but in the world of energy work, energy psychology in particular, it's about the present is how we've taken it in and how we're dealing with what we've done with it in terms of a memory, aspects of the memory, things that it evokes in us in the present. So that's the sort of trick question when they ask us that, is that we've
Hmm.
all had past and we all hopefully will have future, but what we've taken in is in this moment. And that's why a lot of exploration goes on in EFT. What are you experiencing in your body on a scale of 0 to 10? How activated are you? What are your thoughts about this memory? What are your the sounds you hear, the visions you might envision in your mind? So you're doing a lot of exploration about how now they perceive the event or the circumstance they want to work on. In
Okay, yeah, I completely understand what you're saying there. I've been through other trainings where they do work on that, and that is a really, really good point. But you have to be you have to be able to let things, is it let things go, or is it put things into perspective?
In terms of what you work on in
Yeah,
energy work?
in terms of what we were just talking about. I had something that happened to me in the past. Do I need to let that go, or do I need to put it into perspective?
If it's a major trauma, since what you do is you've taken it in. But usually when you have something that's an event that's traumatic, whether it's we call it big T or little t traumas. Big T traumas are major events that are very significant and very impacting extremely in the moment. That can be that it's an individual big T trauma, or it can be a more global one, such as 9/11 or wars or explosions in the battlefield. But your own big T trauma can be, if you don't mind me suggesting, about the accident you had. So
Yeah. Yeah.
basically, at the moment that we have an experience like that, more often than not, we don't have the resources in that moment because it's so overwhelming to handle everything about it in that moment. So what happens is our very intelligent systems take it in, keep it somewhere and file it away as it's horrible, it's terrible, I'm frightened, I'm overwhelmed, but I can't handle it in this moment. So I'm putting it somewhere. And that's in your system. It's a very esoteric concept in your system, but it's the mind, body, spirit system of what all of us have. We keep the information. So over time, you can process how severe that trauma was by experiences like EFT, where you explore it gently, but you ask about parts of it. You break it down. So as you break it down into sequences of small parts of the memory or the experience, you're able to deal with each small increment. And as you deal with each one, you're helping to, well, usually the concept is of a larger, the iceberg above the water. As you take away the bottom parts that are supporting the iceberg, it'll go lower, lower, lower. It's just this idea of breaking it down into smaller pieces, dealing with each small piece. And so what happens is you don't have to forget it. You have taken it and reconfigured it into what it means for you. It doesn't have to be as activating, as upsetting, as frightening, or causing aversion to other things, meaning an aversion to maybe driving or an aversion to something else, moving a certain way because it hurts. You learn to, your system's also learning, I've already dealt with that portion of it, that portion of it, that portion of it. So you don't have to forget it and go forward without dealing with it, because you can't really do that. People try to do that, but that's where it ends up with something that's trying to numb the experience, whether it's chemically based or
Mhm.
distraction based. So then they're not really ever taking the essence of it, and it keeps showing up. Usually props its head up again in different circumstances. Hey, I'm still here. You haven't dealt with it. And people live their whole lives like that. They don't deal with something really huge, but the better they deal with it for themselves, they can function in a more free way. Plus, the people around them start to feel the difference. And they feel things in our field too. People that are close to us, people that work with us, they sense something, and then they act in like planets. They walk, they go around like, I'm going to avoid that, or I'm going to avoid saying that, or doing that around this person because I know it gets them upset. So other people are affected by us not going through the sorting and examining. And you have to go through it to get to the other side. You can't go over it, around it. We all try, but it still stays until we process it. So I don't know if I really answered your question, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
tried.
yeah. And what I was really trying to get out there is it's not a good idea for people to come into this to think that you need to forget about what you've been through, because just forgetting about it is, and I like the way that you made the statement that that's the wrong thing to do because you haven't dealt with it,
Well,
and
not so
if you
about the wrong, it's like a way that's going to stay longer. It'll stay longer
right.
if you don't try to process it. And you need to go through it to process it like any hard thing, because then it stays with you as a huge, huge, usually painful or debilitating block. And then you can feel so much better. People don't like the part where you have to go through it, but that's important because if you never go through it, you can't feel better. And if you go through it, you will feel better, but you need to go through it to feel better. But EFT is so gentle that it doesn't escalate a person into the active state they were in when the trauma occurred. That's one reason it's such a beneficial therapy, is this gentleness. And that's one way that it was actually chosen and designed by the person who founded it, Gary Craig. He was an engineer. Gary Craig was an engineer and noticed there was another therapy out there, thought field therapy, that was similar to tapping, but much more complex, meaning that there were versions of what to do in every certain emotion. There'd be a whole other set of tapping locations and rounds based on a certain emotion. And what would happen is it was so complex, most people were either overwhelmed by it, clinicians as well. But then he noticed if there were just certain basic points, which I can describe today too, that most of the time you felt movement in your energy, but you didn't feel re-traumatized for the original reason that you're doing the tapping.
You mentioned earlier, and since we're getting to the origins of this, which is really kind of funny that you went there because that's exactly my next question. But what you mentioned earlier, there is a little bit of the from out east. There's there's
Eastern medicine?
well, right, Eastern medicine or Eastern philosophy in this. Can
Mm-hmm.
you explain what they took from out east and how he mixed this into tapping itself?
Well, Chinese medicine is what it used to always be called, but now more often than not it's referred to as Eastern, the Eastern hemisphere of our planet. And they have always used methods for thousands of years that have to do with energy centers, blocked energy. Acupuncture is the closest thing I can explain that we usually offer people. Have you ever had acupuncture? And some will say yes, some will say no, or they'll know what it is. I said, well, acupuncturists use needles in certain areas of the body called meridian points, and that's how they help shift the energy that might be blocked about a certain situation in your energy field, your emotions, your physical pain. They try to calibrate through those needles how to assist in that. So tapping does it through tapping, not needles, and it's all self-administered. And the meridian points that have been specified with a basic recipe and also an extended recipe of what to tap on are always touching every meridian in the body through the parts they're touching. So even though an acupuncturist does very refined points, through the meridian points that we do in the general recipe or the basic recipe and extended recipe, we're usually reaching most points in the body. And so that was how it translated into Western culture more, but Roger Callahan, who did the thought field therapy, he had a very complex system, which is fine. Some people really like the specificity of a certain tapping sequence, works for a certain emotional state. But when Gary Craig realized, because he had an engineer's mind, and he recently passed a few months ago, but he was the founder of EFT, he just realized, oh, the same changes are possible, but with a streamlined approach of where to tap. So that's how it sort of funneled into what we do now in emotional freedom techniques.
Okay. And can you go on ahead and maybe share with us some examples of some tapping?
Sure. Well, first, I know you're going to, I put there a chart of the basic recipe of tapping. The reason it's called basic, it's because it's from the waist up points. There are certain extended points that I can also show on a future, episode that involve if you're more escalated and more in need of more extensive movement of the energy. There are some other points that involve the humming, counting, humming, etc., and finger touching points and eye movements. So what I will do now is just say the basic points. So they're very simple, and we use our fingertips. So the first point, I'm not sure if the chart specifies top of head, but there is a top of head point. Meridian points are what we're touching, and meridian points are the energy center points on the surface of our skin that help release through our systems the blocked energy. So we'll start with the top of the head. We use 3 fingers so that we make sure we touch the meridian on our bodies. And so people often ask, how long should they tap on average when they're beginning? I'd say 5 to 7 times. It's self-intuitive when you start to know the process that you want to stay on a certain point as long as you want. The next area is the inner brow, where the brows meet the nose, but on the very end of that,
And do we focus in that area, Aviva? Do we focus on like the eyeball itself or up on the bone inside the
just, well,
eyebrow?
the eyebrow one is just the end of the eyebrow.
Okay.
The side of eye is next. The side of eye is a tricky point because some people think it's the temple, especially when they do it virtually, but
Right.
it's the side of eye where one finger is sort of in the soft area of the corner of the eye, not poking your eye, but touching it a little bit. And then the other finger is on the bone that's the corner of the eye. So it's a gentle side of eye, corner of eye point. The next one is under the nose, which is easy to find because we have that crevice under our nose. So under the nose. And then this point is under the bottom lip, but it's called the chin point, even though the chin's here, it's called the chin point. And then there's 2 points that are the chest points. Excuse me, you find them by finding this round area of the bones ending. About an inch diagonally down is a soft indentation area. That's called the chest points. Because they're two, you do both sides if you can. Eventually, people can tap with one side only while they're doing something else with their other hand, like taking notes for themselves. But for now, it's good to learn. And the last point on the upper body is called side of ribs. And on a female, it's usually the bottom line of the bra line. On a man, you put your hand under your underarm, it's where your pinky would land. So it's the side of rib.
Okay, and so on that one there, of course, it's like I'm a bigger guy, so it's really hard to do both
Some
of those at
people,
once.
they do either both sides or they put one arm across
Yeah.
and just do one side. Right.
Yeah, with my neck problems, it's easier to do the one across.
And
Next
with
neck
the
problems in the size of my chest.
neck problems also when there's an extended part of the recipe where there's some eye movements, it might be hard. And so there are alternatives for almost every tapping point. Now, some people don't like the sensation of physical tapping, so they can just push a little bit on the points when they're making their rounds. And along with touching the tapping rounds, there's usually reminder phrases of what their experience is, which I coach people through depending on what they're working on. So let's say they're working with some kind of physical discomfort. So reminder phrases mean, that heat that's radiating through my arm, or that tingling that's in my wrist, that soreness that's in my back. So what happens is you're saying things as we're tapping so that it helps you it be in the energy field of the experience. And that's one reason that it's approaching the energy from different angles. The physical release through the meridian tapping, the awareness of symptoms or aspects of what you're going through, so that you're totally in dual awareness, and that helps reconfigure what you're trying to work on. So
Are
those are
y-
the basic recipe points.
yeah, are you saying these words? Are you saying these words kind of keep track of what you're doing, keep your mind focused on what you're doing, and less of like a chant or what's the word I'm looking for?
Mantra,
Mantra. Yeah. Is it more of just making
it's
sure you're doing
awareness.
what you're doing?
It's
Yeah.
about awareness. See, before you do all the tapping rounds, there's something called the setup statement, which is also on that chart, the side of hand. On that chart, it might say karate chop point, but it's side of hand. And that's said before all the tapping takes place. And that point really helps with the discernment of what you're going to work on, whether you're saying it verbally or your system is just knowing that it's in a certain state. It can help just focus the mind and the body on, we're working on this. And when I say you don't have to say anything, very often if we're highly anxious right in the moment, we may not even want to talk out loud. We just may want to tap.
Hmm.
So the first time I ever realized how helpful this was at a traffic light that was not changing at all, and people were behaving badly about the lights not changing in all four parts of the intersection. So I just took a
Yeah.
moment to just did some tapping about my escalated tension so that I could be a safer driver in that circumstance. But I didn't have to say out loud, even though people are behaving badly and the light's not changing and I have impatience about getting where I'm going. My system knew that, and your system knows everything. It's a very vast intelligence of what's going on. But the reason phrases help when you do this clinically is you're really breaking down parts of something in the memories, the parts of memories. But in the moment, like I think we're trying to help your community understand is accessible to them at any time. You don't have to speak about what you're going through. If you feel dysregulated, which means you feel off center in any way, it can mean that you're feeling frightened, anxious, tearful, grief stricken, scared, even though frightened and scared sound similar, they have nuances to them to people about what the differences are. Then you just know, your body knows how to help you start to calm down. And the reason that's so important is when your nervous system is not in fight, flight, or freeze mode, you have more access to ways that you can go more slowly, how you can problem solve, how you can look at it a different way. The system is very intelligent. You want to help it not be in that alert state, because the alert state blinds us, because what it's trying to do is preserve us from danger. So of course it shuts down our thinking brain, and it shuts down the sense of calm because adrenaline is pumping. But once we start to let our body know you're safe and I need to calm down to function, then all the other parts start to show up.
Okay, these are very, very gentle taps. These are not, you're not trying to put an abundance of pressure anywhere, but there is a possibility of something going wrong. And what happens, what should people be looking for if something's not feeling right? What are some of the things that they one should do, and what are some of the things that they need to look out for?
Meaning when they're tapping?
Yes, yeah.
Well, some people don't like the sensation of tapping. They find it too stimulating for their skin, for their nervous system as well. So you just encourage, there are options. There's options of just touching the points gently.
Hmm.
And there's also options of imagining touching the points. And this is recommended at times by people that either don't want to do the tapping in a visible way, or they just aren't feeling like they just want to do all the touching and tapping. So I have my own personal example of needing a blood pressure reading to be a little lower, wanting it to be because my doctor was very critical, which of course made it even up.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, can you just give me a minute or two? Luckily, he allowed for that and talked about something else. And then I did an internal visualization of tapping. And in that visualization of tapping, I also intended, I want to bring my pressure down. My pressure's not as high as he's saying. I hope my reading goes down. And so 10 minutes later, when he took it again, it had gone down significantly. And he said, well, what did you just do? And I tried to explain, and this also answers your question about how to explain to people that don't understand. And he was a modern doctor, but he was trained in Western medicine, allopathic care, where everything is usually treated, usually, not always. They're becoming more open to other complementary ways of helping yourself. But medicine or losing the weight or, and more exercise, but not self-regulation, self-regulation. So I tried to explain it. He really didn't understand what I meant, but he said, if it worked for you, that's wonderful. So, and that was a small bit of opening up to it, but not significant. Although that's over 10 years ago, I know there's more discussion in
Yeah.
programs about complementary care, like massages and exercise and yoga and EFT and other modalities that are sort of not technically giving a pill, but they also take into account reducing your stress, going slower, Tai Chi and all those. Go slower, go slower. Slower is the big operative word here about most stress.
And yeah, that really comes back to the conversation we've been having for the last couple of weeks on many of my shows, that everything right now is go 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 go, and that's just not good for you at all. You've got to slow down, and you've got to take action when it comes to your own health, and so anything slower is going to take, and you're going to be able to breathe through stuff. Breathing is so important in this, correct?
It ends up being that your breathing becomes much more relaxed, much more easeful and fuller breaths. There is a whole exercise in EFT about constricted breathing to help people reverse that feeling. But in general, it's important to keep in mind with energy work, because energy is finite, but it changes forms. That's the way energy is understood. So if you keep push, 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 excuse me, you're taking away the reserves. There are no reserves left. So if you're always going fast and pushing, you're going to end up crashing because there's nothing left. Your battery. You have
Yeah.
to recharge the battery by sleep, by nutrition, but also by stepping away from very dysregulating, upsetting experiences and things, especially if you have a choice, which brings us into the whole idea about social media and news, going on restricted plans sometimes just to not take all of it in at once. because there's a message out there. Take it all in, keep it on 24/7, keep looking at it. And that's how it's designed. And that in itself can just keep you escalated. And then you can crash from exhaustion and depletion.
Yeah. Um, what are some things that where this is all brand new to a lot of people? What are some things that people can start doing from now until our next episode, which is going to come up in a month? What are some things that people can do to really start to learn a little bit more about these techniques
Hmm.
and also learn a little bit more? And I think one of the reasons why I like this technique so much is it really teaches you about yourself. You
Hmm.
know, it really teaches you about and how you're going to react to this.
Well, first, I know you'll have the chart available. People can look through just the tapping points and just try to do them themselves, just at any moment. I haven't taught yet how to talk about, presenting circumstance and how to address that with reminder phrases, which will be the next portion that we record. So what I suggest first is just getting familiar with the tapping points. There's also a way to learn a little bit more about it by some links I can offer that you might be able to put into the information about the
Yeah.
episode, where you can learn a little bit more about it. But the most important thing is don't try to get the whole picture at once. Like anything else, take small steps, take small dosages of learning something so new. And they can also reach out to me and I will teach them about specific issues they want to work on, how to get addressing that through EFT that is sequential and step by step and clinically based, but through the idea of palliative, which is in the moment care for stress. Just practice it. If you're just feeling a little bit off center one day, just tap any number of times and it just is repeated. It's a sequence. You repeat it over and over until you check in with yourself after a few rounds, see how you're feeling, notice what you're feeling. And you might notice one of the first things people do say, my shoulders are more relaxed, my breathing is more relaxed. I'm feeling a little bit drowsy sometimes, but that means you've let down that nervous system bracing. Yes, that's part of energy movement is you're going to not be as tense.
Yeah. You did mention reach out to you, Aviva. How do people get a hold of you?
They can reach me through my website, which is my name, www.avivachansky-gutman, no spaces.com. And the very helpful Z has made that beautiful website that everybody can access. There's also a place where they can sign up for any future emails I send out through my email blasts that have to do with upcoming workshops and things like that. And also they can reach me through LinkedIn and they can reach me through my Facebook business page. And that's the best way to get started.
And of course, you can also you can find all this information if you visit her landing page on Community Pay It Forward. If you would like an introduction to Aviva, I encourage you to please get a hold of me and I will make that introduction happen. Aviva, before we end this first recording, and I know we went a little bit longer than we were planning on it, but that is quite okay.
Mhm.
You heard something last week on our show with Lynn on Lynn's Day when we were discussing relationships, and you being a licensed Imaga therapist,
Imago. Mhm.
Imago, sorry, Imago therapist, you wanted to say something about that. Can you?
Yeah, sure. I wanted to clarify because I know it was totally in humor and banter discussion about what a traditional couples therapy session would be like. And there was some inference about, which happens a lot in couples therapy, is that they try to get the therapist to take a side or make a decision about who's bad, who's right, who's wrong. Isn't he horrible? Isn't she terrible? In a MAGA relationship therapy, we don't have any such thing because it's structured in a very safe, dialogical way. We have an exercise at every session called the Imago Dialogue. And the whole intention is that you keep people in a structure of safety where they actually have certain rules we've asked of them. And that's the reason they're there, is to get the situation to be improved between them, where they are not allowed to shame, blame, or complain. They're not allowed to have negativity during the dialogue. The dialogue is an exercise in connection of active listening, empathy, and validation. And it's very helpful to have those components because that's not what usually takes place in most conversations between most people, but also people aren't intentional in how they speak with each other. But after imago therapy, and when people have mastered the aspects of the therapy itself, it does get carried over into their regular life as well, to be more actively listening, to offer more validation that makes sense. And the reason it makes sense that you said that is, and not to judge and to have empathy for the person's experience. And the reason I wanted to just discuss it briefly is because the preconceived notion about couples therapy is this very negative experience that people have seen in the movies and on television or experienced themselves, where 9 times out of 10, if somebody's come to see me after the regular traditional couples therapy, which can be very unstructured. So somebody not comfortable with working with couples may do it and not be comfortable in the position, but they can get triangulated into that experience of couples saying, hey, what about what I say? Don't you think he's wrong? That's very easy in human nature to happen when you have three. And what happens in Imago, the intention is already from the beginning. That won't be taking place. The clinician is the orchestrator of the dialogue, keeps people in structure and safety. When they're that safe together, a lot can happen because they feel safe enough to say their deepest, most vulnerable experiences and feelings, and the other person's agreeing to listen to that without judgment. That in itself is a huge healing aspect, and that's why I'm a Imago therapist. I wanted to be one because that was what I had not seen in most of my close relationships up until becoming one. And when I became one, I started to gravitate more toward what do I want in relationships? What do I need in relationships? And that's one reason I love doing it, is because that's what couples end up deciphering through the process. What do they want? How can they find it? Why are they in the one that, or why are they accepting something that's not helping them feel valued? But they work it through if they're committed, and some don't, but they're really there to enhance how they understand each other. So that's just a little response to the misconception that all couples therapy could be bad.
Well, and this is something I meant to end this recording after that question, but this one just popped up, and I think this is also something that's really important. Aviva, can people who have a good relationship, can they go in for family, for counseling? And do we have to wait until there's a problem to go see a counselor? And what are the benefits of saying, you know what, we've got a great relationship. There's no such thing as a perfect relationship, but we've got a great relationship. Maybe we should go and make sure we're being proactive on working through anything that we may come up with.
Well, what happens is sometimes the angle at which people arrive to the therapy sometimes is based on a generational uh, perspective. I find generally younger clients have been more aware almost all their lives as adults, which isn't that long yet, but they've been aware of working something through, talking more openly, wanting to do preventive care for their relationships. So I've had people come before they're married. I've had people come when they're just married. I've had people come because there's a baby now and they didn't understand their relationship would change and dynamic, but they're just a little disoriented by that and they want to help keep it healthy for all of them. Then I've had people that go to the workshops that I assist at. I'm a clinical assistant often at Omega Institute for Harville Hendricks and his wife, Helen Kelly Hunt, who are the founders of Imago Therapy. And so I've been through at least 20 of their workshops to watch the process, know it by heart, but also we end up getting people that come from those workshops as referrals because they like what they learned at the workshop and they want to keep going with what they've learned and how it made them feel after being there. So I have that. It's all ranges and all ages and all reasons. And I've also had adult children and their parents about caregiving concerns or end of life care concerns or sibling rivalry issues as adults. These people are in close relationships, so they're coming to see how they can feel more connected and understand each other better.
Yeah, oh, I'll tell you. You said it and instantly the first thing that came into my mind is, God, I wish I would have done that. But when my first son was born, if I would have had a little bit of a more of a clue on what I could have done to relax myself and
Mm-hmm.
not bring pent up energy and anxiety as a father. I was very young. I was 22 when my son was born, so I was still very young and very, inexperienced in life. And
Mm-hmm.
that's such a great idea to come in and talk to somebody prior to a baby coming into life, because yeah, there are drastic changes that happen as soon as that, wonderful changes. but
Hmm.
they are drastic changes that if you're just not ready for, they could make a substantial difference in your relationship.
I've had a couple married over 40 years come for sessions because not that they're having actively fighting, but of all the things they didn't openly express, trying to keep peace that were really pushing through. I'd like you to, like the wife, she wouldn't express something very important to her, thinking it's better not to, it keeps the peace, it makes him happy. But she needed to express this safely. So the safety of being able to say something that's been on her mind a very long time and the husband's willingness to listen to it and make a little bit of an adjustment in their relationship for her to be happier made a phenomenal difference because like any energy work as it is energy work as well in the relationship, when one shift happens, other shifts start to happen at the same time because you're moving something. So that's the beauty is that when you move an obstacle or a pattern that's not necessarily working, then all the healthier things try to come in around that.
Wow. Well, Um, I think that we've got a lot to think about. I would like to ask you before we uh, press the pause button on this episode, is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you would like to make sure that you get out there for this first conversation?
Just basically the most beneficial thing anybody can do when they're looking to feel better is to be open to that there is more than one way
Yeah.
and let me try something else. And especially trying something that doesn't involve something major like a chemical yeah, reaction to a drug you might get. Um, it's something to try where the adverse reactions to EFT are only sometimes maybe confusion about I'm feeling a little elevated or escalated. What do I do with that feeling? But in that case, you're not going to feel traumatized because your system in EFT doesn't let you get to the full traumatic experience. It lets you have aspects of it that you are ready to see. So then having a clinician there also helps with that. So if somebody's feeling a little, because you sometimes will feel a little bit more upset before you feel a little bit better, but that's normal. That's really normal. Like if we have an incision on a wound, it looks great that the doctor took care of it, but he had to stitch it. And the next day there's swelling and pain from the swelling and pain. So it's healing though. It's just getting a little erupted because it's been exposed and it's been worked on, but it has to heal. So that's the analogy, that I can say it's like that, similar to that.
And people should not people should not rush to any conclusion after trying this for the first time. This is going to be like anything else. It's going to take a little bit of time to get into a rhythm. It's going to take a little bit of time for it to feel comfortable, right? Because you're going to
Hmm.
be doing something that, look, let's be honest, not a lot of us have, done this program before. So it's going to take a little bit of time to, maybe master is a bad way of stating it, but uh, being proficient in this method.
Yes, there's ways to do it as self-care, but I highly recommend having someone guide you in the beginning for how to do it for self-care, a few sessions with myself to help a person learn what to do and how to do it so that they also become more proficient at the points. Once you've memorized the points, you don't think about where they are. You just start doing them on your tapping rounds. And that in itself takes away that part. So the learning part, the brain's just on automatic pilot for that. The rest is the issue. What is it? How am I experiencing that issue? What am I feeling in my body? What are my thoughts about it? That can get more attention than where do I tap?
This is perfect. One more time, how do they get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me, well, through your community pay it forward page that you're mentioning. All the contact information is on that, and also my website, which Mr. Z designed from the World Wide Webs, and he's excellent, by the way. Uh, it's www and my full name, Aviva Chansky Gutman, with no uh, parts between the names, just all the way through. And so that's the way today.
Yep. Well, um, I loved it. Our first show is ready to go. So we're excited about that. And you are going to be joining us every month. You're going to be joining us the third Wednesday of every month at this time. And eventually we want to get to where we are potentially doing this live so you can come on and ask questions. Until we go live, if you have any questions, send them to us and I will ask Aviva during the recording. Or you can also get a hold of us and maybe you can join us during the next recording. This is, look, we're open books. This is about how we can help you and you can help others. That's our goal with this. It's the simplicity is the beauty in this, but the simplicity and the effectiveness is the bonus. So, Aviva, I greatly appreciate it, and I want to thank you so very much. I hope you liked your first show.
Thank you.
All
I
right.
did. Enjoyed it very much.
We will be back.
Hey friends, I've been thinking, we all have our strengths, right? There are things I'm great at and things I'm definitely not great at. I can talk to anyone, anywhere, but ask me to add something to a website or an app. Yeah, that's where things get a little messy. Oops, I love speaking. I love sharing stories. But social media, all those hashtags, algorithms, trends, that's a jungle I still haven't mapped out. Now, coming up with ideas that bring people together, that's my sweet spot. But bookkeeping, let's just say numbers, and I have agreed to stay in separate corners. And you know what? That's okay, because someone out there is good at those things. And when we work together, that's when the magic happens. Community Pay It Forward has never been about one person. It's a program built by many to support even more. Every single one of us brings something special to the table. We all have talents that make us strong on our own. But imagine how powerful we become when we combine them. That's the heart of Community Pay It Forward. Your skills, my skills, our hearts, working side by side to make a real difference. So tell me, what are you good at? Let's discover it together. Visit communitypayitforward.us and join the movement.
So the lifeblood of our community is our partners, the giving partners, the ones who take and who give a portion of their dream, their service. They take and they see what we're doing and want to be part of it. And that is one of the things that my new guest has done. But what makes her special is this isn't something that's new to her. She has been doing this for a long time, building herself back up from a very, very tragic incident that we'll probably talk a little bit about, but building herself into something fantastic and building clever adventures into something that is original and wonderful. I'd like to introduce you all to Lori Cleverly. How are you doing, Lori?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, doing great. You've had an interesting couple weeks since you joined the program. It kind of scared me. I'm like going, oh boy, what am I doing? Am I setting her up or what's going on here? So
Yeah. 2 weeks ago, my 5-year-old son decided he was going to let the dogs out the front door, and we have 2 huskies, and they love to run, and so they took off and tried to find the electric motorcycle keys and couldn't. So I took the brand new motorcycle that the payment was due a week ago, first payment, and crashed it into my neighbor's garage door. So, yeah.
Thank God for full coverage.
Yes, yes.
There's
Yeah.
not a lot. There's not a lot of good things about leasing a motorcycle, but full coverage is one of the really good things about leasing. I know that happening to have full coverage on my accident probably saved. Well, it actually. I know it saved us a couple $100,000. So.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't even my fault, the accident was not my fault. So, but it's still, it's always nice to have. But you're doing okay now.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a broken nose, a really large hematoma on my forehead that's almost gone. Had surgery a week ago on my nose to put it back correctly, and so I've been healing incredibly well.
Yeah. Well, I know that we were scheduled to do this last week, and you know, we popped on the camera, and I think you could have went for it, but you were still waiting in the hospital, so I was like, yeah, we might want to wait a week before we do this, you know. So I know being in the hospital and trying to get out of there, you don't want to be talking to anybody on the phone. You just want to go home. Hospitals suck, you know. I mean.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you're here, and Lori, I would like to, you know, first and foremost say, welcome to the Community Pay It Forward family. Welcome to the Giving Partner family, and thank you so very much for joining us in our mission to help everyone. You, as I mentioned in the opening, this isn't something that's new to you. You've been helping people for quite a while
Yes.
with your business. Can you tell us some of the things that you've done with Clever Adventures?
So, as a full service travel agent, there's a lot of things that we could or can do. And, you know, everybody wants to pick their niche, everyone wants to pick their specialty, all of those things. And so, one thing that I had to do or learn was, well, how would I travel with my family? What would I do for my family? I have 4 boys, and 3 of them have autism. And so my everyday life is just a natural adaptation to how to deal with my kids, how to make sure that my kids are enjoying any trips that we take or have them look forward to or any of those things. And how are we going to accommodate ourselves with food allergies and sensitivities and, you know, the challenges of just traveling with any type of disability. And that's when I found that, you know what, if I'm learning how to travel, that I've found resources that I've never would have realized were out there had I not been a travel agent, that I should help the other families just like me. 2 of my kids right now go to an autism charter school. And so reaching out to that community, and a lot of friends have come to me and been like, hey, we just got an autism diagnosis. Where should I start? What resources? And so I just felt that I could be a resource for the broader community of, you know, the cognitive or the neurodivergence and how to do that, but even the physical disabilities. My father was diagnosed with Parkinson's about 18 years ago, and watched him go from like fully capable to slowly declining, and having to change him, watching him decline from being a rancher, a veterinarian, all of these very fun things that, you know, he just was part of his life, to not being able to walk, not being able to move his feet, and having to care for him in many capacities. He lived with us for a little bit just because he had to have back surgery, and we were hoping to avoid assisted living, where, you know, oh, hopefully the recovery was going to be a lot quicker. It was not, it unfortunately was not. And so instead of me having to go to my parents' house to help and my mom come to my house to watch my kids, my dad came and stayed with us for a little bit. And the understanding that my dad got for my kids, and my kids got to see their grandpa every single day. Anytime they, you know, were walking around, they just were like, oh, there's grandpa. So and my father-in-law is actually an amputee. So, you know, I understand the physical limitations of what it's like to have a physical disability and the neurodivergent disability as well.
Well, this is the tragic story that I had mentioned earlier. You did mention that you have a 4th son. Can you tell us about him, please?
Yeah, so my son was 3.5, and 4 years ago he passed away. He accidentally drowned in a neighbor's pool. It was a vacant rental house, and so we had to go through a lot of struggles. We, having children on the spectrum, one of their things that they do is they like to elope or run, and they like to get out. And one of the things that was a struggle with my oldest that was running was, if I can't find him, who else am I going to call? You're going to call the police, right? They're there to help you. They're who you think of in emergencies. Yeah, your friends can help, but they have more resources and the manpower. And so, due to having not been able to find my son multiple times, unfortunately, the state came in and took our kids. And so we had to not only deal with losing a child, essentially, we had to deal with losing our other 3 kids to foster care. Very graciously, my brother and sister-in-law opened up their home to my kids. We were able to see our kids every single day. I still did my mom routine with my sister-in-law, and there's a reason for everything. And we lost our son, and I wanted to show my kids that, you know what, we have all these memories. We went to the beach. The oldest 2 loved the water. My son Tyler loved the sand, and then my baby at the time, my youngest, he didn't like any of it because he was less than a year. He was just like, nope, I'm not having this. I'm not having this. So it was just fun to see the different ages at the beach. And so I found travel, and I'm like, look, I can show my kids that we can still travel, we can still see the world. It's going to look a little different just on how we travel, but we can also create new memories. We can still miss your brother and still be happy. We can still have it's bittersweet. We can still move on with our lives and still remember your brother and remember everything that we did together, and wish that he was there with us, but we can still grieve him. We can still process. Some days are harder than others. Some days are, like, oh yeah, let's think about him today, or oh yeah, he would have loved this, or and the hurt lessens as time goes on. It doesn't go away, it just lessens.
Yeah.
It's less of a focus. And so to be able to say, look, we fought for our kids, we have this tragic history, and everyone has a story, and it's how you come out on the other side, working on yourself, right? You always need to work on yourself. You want to make sure that yourself is mentally in a good place, so then you can actually care for others, right? When you're on an airplane, they say put your oxygen mask on first before somebody else. So, my husband and I both saw individual counselors. We saw a marriage counselor, and we got ourselves in the best place that we needed to be and make sure that our kids got the support that they needed. And so we're big advocates of making sure that, there are things that happen in life and it sucks, but we're going to move forward. We're going to create new memories, and we're going to still be able to have new memories be created and still wish your brother's there.
Lori, I really think that one of the things that people need to remember, you had to go through a learning period as well. Every time you had one of your sons was born and started showing the signs of autism, you had to relearn how to, it's like every child is going to be different anyway. Okay. If you've got a child that's on the spectrum, you've only not got a child that's different, but you've also got different, you've got different mannerisms. You've got different, warnings that you've got to watch out for. The getting away. It's such a stress on the parents, which, look, being a parent is not easy anyway. And that doesn't matter if your kids are quote unquote healthy or not. Being a parent is very stressful to begin with. Um, what are some of the things that when they came in and they removed your children, what are some of the things that you and your husband did to one, and this is actually probably one of the most important things, what are some of the things you and your husband did not only at the time of grieving, but to stay together? Because that is something that when you lose one child, it's difficult to do. You, in essence, lost all four at once.
Yeah.
How are you and your husband, one, able to take that time to learn and stay together?
I believe every couple needs a marriage
Mhm.
counselor, marriage therapy, group couples counseling, whatever you want to call it. Um, Honestly, with our marriage, with our relationship, we were not in the best of places, but we knew that we were both willing to fight for this marriage. And our son Tyler, when he passed away, he cracked us wide open. There, you know, there here you're we were the coconut, and we finally cracked, and here's everything to see. And we had to one of the there's when you're being investigated for any reason with the state, and I have my own qualms with a lot of other
Yeah.
things, but one of the things is you have to reflect on yourself. You have to reflect on, well, what have you done? You're always going to second guess everything that you do. But they want to make sure that you're getting classes. Do you have the education? Hey, here's best practices for parents. Here's this resource. And we had to take parenting classes. We had to have someone come in and watch us interact with our kids. We couldn't be left alone with our kids, essentially for at least 6 months, actually longer than 6 months. And so we had to make sure that, like, we did our individual counseling. I needed something to do when I wasn't with the kids, and so I actually worked on remodeling our house and ripped out carpet that my kids had essentially destroyed. It was very cheap carpet and needed to be replaced anyways, and so ripped that out. I learned how to lay plank vinyl flooring. I learned how to do the new baseboards, and I painted, and I tried to give my kids these custom rooms, essentially where, one room was Marvel themed, so they got their names and character letters and all these things. And so I think you need to have a distraction, because you're going to focus on it no matter what. But I feel like I needed a distraction. I was not a travel agent at the time, so I didn't have, like, it's throw yourself into work. My husband was, still trying to do all of his things, but we had to go through a lot of things. Just, hey, we have to look at our parenting style. We have to look at what's correct in political terms now. And, coulda, woulda, shoulda, all of these things. But my husband lost a brother that had cerebral palsy, also to a drowning, when about the same age, the son, and so his parents were probably our biggest advocates, because they're like, we know what it's gone through. His parents did not get a divorce either. And it's get into counseling, get into therapy. You need couples therapy. And so they were kind of our lighthouse, I guess, that beacon of hope of, hey, look, they did it. They're not perfect, but that's at least where we know we're going to start. And we had family to call on to support. We had friends that were there to support us. So we were never alone, unless, we were like, hey, I just need some time. But we had people checking on us. We essentially had to rebuild our marriage And we've been married 13 years now, so we're on year number 13, and we've, a lot of it comes down to communication, right? Every relationship is based off of communication, whether it's good communication, bad communication, doesn't matter. But, you've got to communicate, and if one person shuts down, it's not going to necessarily be the greatest, and then somebody else gets frustrated. And so, we accepted each other as we processed everything. And I was like, oh, I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. And, everything was my husband's fault. And he's like, okay, I'll take it. But these are things that you need to do too. And so I think you have to swallow your pride and be humble and say, hey, look, we are not perfect. We're not expected to be perfect. That's why, we have Christ in our lives, but we also have each other to lean on. We can, and counseling, we did in a neutral space. That was probably the biggest thing that I could say with that, is do it in a neutral space, because you don't want that energy, whether you believe it or not, you don't want that energy in your house or in that one area, because then it's just going to be a negative draw of, oh, I've got to go here. And it's,
Yeah.
we'd go for like lunch afterwards, or kind of make a mini date out of it. And so, it became part of our normal lives that we were doing this. We were supporting each other. We were learning to communicate again. We were learning to express our frustrations and how to talk about things. And, there's lots of growing, and, that happens through any tragedy. And it's how do you come out on the other side? Are you going to be stronger, or are you going to throw in the towel? And we are significantly stronger. A year ago, we had a house fire, and we had to essentially start over. And, in some regards, we're still starting over. But, every day you just wake up and it's a new day, and tackle the day as it comes.
I think the understanding of, if we give up, we give up. That's just the thing. We can't go back if we gave up. You can't start again if you give up. It sounds a little weird, but starting over is you gotta lose everything to start over, and that's really not an option. I appreciate you sharing your story with us, and I know I feel your pain when I feel the pain on you when we talk about this, and I just appreciate and love you for your vulnerability, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. What was it that, in which now we pretty much know the story, but what was it that really inspired you to create um, Clever Adventures? I understand, you know, why, because of your sons, you do this, but what was it about, travel? Okay, I'm doing travel.
Yeah. So I originally went to school to be a PE and health teacher. And when there was the Red for Ed movement going on, I was actually pregnant with our third son. And I was just very frustrated with the education system because I was a public school teacher. But that's a completely different topic, right? And didn't feel supported. And we were pregnant with our third son. And my husband, God has a sense of humor. My husband got a new job that made $20,000 more than the two of us combined. And I was like, all right, done. I do not want to keep teaching anymore. I'm done with this. The frustrations. And I never thought I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but being a stay-at-home mom was something that I love. And then to find out about the diagnosis and everything, I've had to be my children's biggest advocates, and we've made a lot of sacrifices that if I was teaching, there's no way I would have been able to do it. So I love projects and I love solving problems and I love helping people. My love language is acts of service, which is great for this community, right? And so my husband suggested project management. So there was a course on how to become a project manager and very intro. And so then I was like, okay, like I feel like I'm ready to get out and do something, or I need something to kind of do besides just, the house and the kids, right? We've got to have something else. And so I, was looking and was like, I need the flexibility of staying home, or, I needed something remote part-time. And starting out, you're never going to find that. So it was one of those things where I came across travel, and I, was always interested in travel, never really did a whole heck of a lot because my parents, their parents needed help. So we always went to Utah and Montana to go to my grandparents to help mow the lawn, do the yard work, do the big projects that needed to be done, those types of things that my grandparents needed at those times. And so, yeah, I went, we did a few other vacations, but not like, oh yeah, we're going to go to this destination. Oh, where do we want to go next year? It was, my dad took 2 weeks off and we spent a week in Utah with my mom's parents, and then a week in Montana with my dad's parents. So, when I found travel, I was just like, this is great because I never want to stop learning. And with travel, there's so many destinations, there's so many companies, there's so many different opportunities on what to learn that my brain I could do the teaching, but the mundaneness of, okay, you've got to cover these same things, I just kind of got tired of it. And when I needed something to keep me excited, that literally I fell in love with project management, and essentially a travel agent is a project manager because every single project is different. It's unique. You could have the same destination, you could have the same travel dates, and you could have the same, same number of people, but their preferences, their choices, what they would work for them or not, it's always going to be completely different. You can start at one price point. Well, what are you willing to pay? What's the availability? Flights, all of that stuff. And so I love it because there is so many options, and it's, okay, what is my knowledge about this destination? Or what is my knowledge about my clients that needs to come in with, like, the disabilities? Do they need things in regards to, mobility? So they need an elevator. Because in the United States, we have the Americans with Disabilities Act. But once you leave the U.S., there is no ADA. And those requirements that, are established in the U.S., there isn't. And so it can be even more of a challenge once you leave the U.S., if you're going international, to make sure that, oh, there is an elevator. Oh, there is do you need a roll-in shower? Do you need grab bars? People can put them in, but it's not always necessarily a requirement, for like hotels and things. And so making sure that things are accessible, I'm able to do my research. I'm able to save my clients a lot of time in that I can go and dig. I like to go and find all the information to make it that my clients don't have to spend all of the time that I'm doing it just for one. I put that information in my brain so that the next time somebody wants to go there, hey, this is what I found here. This is what I've found for this. And so it's able to, yes, it helps one family at that time, but how many families could it potentially help in the future? And there's not a lot of all of those resources. So one thing that I do is I talk to my business development managers, whether it's for a company or a tourism board or, whatever it is that they're representing. And I ask them about disabilities. I ask them, how do you handle sensory needs? How do you handle accessibility? Is there wheelchair ramps? Is there, do you have the lights for people that can't hear or hard of hearing? Do you have, braille or a way for people that struggle to see? So it's not just, the things that you can't, visible or invisible disabilities. I am encompassing everything, because just because one person doesn't, yes, how would I travel with my family, right? I need to practice booking a trip. Okay, well, how would I take my family? How would I take my family to this place? Okay, what resources are there? And there are some places that actually allow you to, the community, the businesses, to train their staff so that they can say that they are like certified, or that they get this symbol to say, hey, our staff have been trained in autism, our staff have been trained in this disability, so that way you know that we're going to be supportive, we're open to those individuals. Hey, if there's something going on, we know how to handle it, instead of, a lot of people with disabilities, there's negative stigma. There is a lot of, oh, well, this is embarrassing, or, oh, they're a horrible parent because, oh, your child's trying to get away. It's not that they're trying to get away from us, like, oh, I don't ever want to see you again, like run away. There's something that they're trying to avoid, or there's something that they don't want to do, whether it's because of overstimulation or things, and they're trying to get away from that situation. And it's not what they want, or it's not what they're expecting. And so we've got to deal with that, and it can be very embarrassing. And, I try and cheer on those parents that, I'm like, oh, that one's a runner. Okay, they're doing the best that they can. And so however I can help my clients be a resource for them to say, hey, look, I understand your everyday life. I understand your hesitation with travel. We can still get you traveling. You might have to, have some extra time, or maybe not do as many things. You can't cram everything in, but you can still travel the world. Maybe you need to wait till your kids are a little older. Maybe you need to look at some of our options with, I work with Autisms on the Seas, where they have basically like respite. And so maybe you need to look at options for that on, hey, you need somebody else to be there so you can be an adult. And what resources do you need to travel? Well, what do you have at home? What do you do to function every day at home? And it is my responsibility to help them get as much of what it's like at home while they travel. So whether it's, a wheelchair, a lift, incontinence, whatever it is, feeding tube machines, any of those things, oxygen, whatever they need at home, to make sure that they have those things when they travel and not have to haul it. I'm reading your lips. I can't hear you.
I'm very sorry about that. How often have you been able to, or how often have you had to tell a parent or remind a parent that you might need this accessibility? Because they're going through all these things in their mind that they want. How often does somebody forget what they need?
So that is one of the questions that I kind of ask of, hey, do you have food allergies? Because they're like, well, we just do a lot of cooking at home, or we do these things, or we only eat certain snacks. Like food allergies are becoming significantly more prevalent, and they impact people traveling. We only eat at certain fast food restaurants. We can't eat anywhere because our youngest has an EpiPen for soy. And to say, hey, you have like, he's like, can I eat that? Well, you could, and let if you want a shot. And he's like, no, I don't want the shot. So, it gives him that choice of this is the consequence if you eat this, but, so it's helping him learn. But I have a friend that she had cerebral palsy, and she was going to go to, she wanted to go on a trip to see her sister, and it was supposed to be snowing, and she can kind of walk, but, a wheelchair is easier. And I'm like, well, how are you going to be walking around in the snow? She hadn't thought of the weather. Hadn't thought of, well, my clothes are going to get all wet, or, oh, what am I going to have to do if I just have my walker versus not having a wheelchair? And, well, she was just going to go by herself. Well, okay, is anybody there to think about that? Do you have somebody there to help you? That would help you, and so it's a physical disability. It's that neurodivergence. And it's one thing that I just want to make sure that I put myself in those parents of, okay, tell me your struggles, what are your concerns, so that way I know how to prepare either the hotel or, for the trip, make sure that the individuals that need to know the information, that they know that information. Hey, we've got a family coming in. These kids, they have, these kids, they have 3 boys, all 3 are autistic, and they, 2 of them are runners. Okay. So, or hey, they've got food allergies. They will talk to the concierge when they get to the hotel, but just so you know, this family is coming. And so just like the family has to know how to travel and have to make sure that they have everything that they need, it's also very respectful of me to make sure that where they're staying and where they're going knows, hey, this family has these challenges. These are what they face every day. Just letting you know so you know how to, help that family, in their everyday life.
I've got 2 more questions for you, but this one is how when somebody comes to you and they say, you know what, we've got to travel, we got to go somewhere. I don't know where. We got to go somewhere. What do you go through? What is like the like Rolodex in your mind? Okay, well they've got a child with sensory issues, so going to a place like Las Vegas might be too much. So we want to take and check that box as a oh no, and so maybe we go to another place that is just as fun, but not so much for the child, or for even for another adult.
So if they don't know where they want to go, I kind of start by just asking a few basic questions of where have you been, and if where would you like to go? Do does it need to be within driving distance because it's easier to just drive? Are you willing to go international? How international? And so it kind of just gets them thinking of, well, what would I like to see? Where would you like to go? What types of transportation are you interested in? Plane, train, automobile, essentially. How do you want to, boat? We don't really like to be around a lot of water. So, okay, or we don't, I have a friend that she's terrified of open ocean. So I'm like, okay, why don't you start with a river cruise? because then you're still on a boat. There's that. And so kind of ease into it. And so it just gets them thinking of maybe we're a little seasick or we're a little hesitant about a boat. Okay, so that takes that off the table. Do you want a theme park or would you like, more history? And I just kind of help them say, where do you want to, it helps narrow them down of like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to have the kids learning while they're traveling? Yeah, you can still incorporate those things. Like a lot of museums and places are getting the autism certifications to say that they're either autism double checked or a certified autism center or city. And so those are the trainings that are available. And so this just gets them to think of, well, what do we want to do while we're there? Do you want warm weather? I'm in Arizona, and so like everybody comes south for the winter, and it's like, oh, do you want to go north? Where do you want to go? When do you want to go? What type of weather are you wanting? And so it kind of just says, hey, we're willing to go international. Okay, do you want to go, east? Do you want to go to, Asia? Any there? Do you want to go down to Australia, the South Pacific, any of those islands? Do you want to go to Europe? Do you want to stay within the US? And so it just kind of gets people to think of, okay, I've always wanted to go, on my bucket list, me personally, I would love to go to England. I'd love to go to France. I'd love to go all through Europe, but where's the next best thing for me? My oldest has there's a person at church that showed him a picture of Star Wars, of the stormtroopers at Disneyland. And now he's like, I want to go to Disneyland. So even though I want to go see all those places, there's nothing wrong with that. But my children's next focus would be to go to Disney because they want to go to Star Wars land. They want to go see all the Star Wars stuff and experience all of that. So then we'll work on that. So it's, do the kids have a request of somewhere they'd like to go or where they would like to be seen or what they want to see? Maybe they're learning about something. I know in Arizona I think across the nation, 4th grade, the kids study the national parks and, some of those things. And so those kids you can get free entrance into the national parks. So do you want to go see one of the national parks? Which one? So I ask questions to probe them to get them thinking of, do you like mountains or do you like a beach? Do you want lots of water? Do you want very little water? What are the activities that you want to do? Because then I can build destinations or locations off of those questions.
Well, I'll tell you, we'd have a lot of fun with me and my wife. She loves the ocean. I don't care. I couldn't, I'm a mountains guy. Hence here in Colorado. Yeah, she dreams about going back to her ocean vacations in Texas, and I'm like, well, have fun. I'm gonna go camping. So it's like you enjoy the ocean and the smell of fish, and I'm just gonna go up into the mountains with life. But and again, Lori, I want to thank you so very much for all of this, and I appreciate everything that you have brought to this and are bringing to the family. I think I think what you're doing is it's so much in the mission of what we're trying to do to make sure that everyone has the accessibility to do what everyone else is able to do. And there's no reason why we shouldn't all be able to enjoy stuff. I love the fact that you keep bringing up history, because that's my thing right there. I would love, my bucket list is going to like a castle tour in Europe. Just do like a European castle tour that goes into Rome and maybe even to Greece, and then, maybe slipping down to Egypt when people aren't getting killed down there. You know, go and visit all these historic places. I'd love to go and see the Great Wall of China. That would be so neat to see that, and even in the older villages of Japan, those, that would be, oh, that would just be, for a guy who loves history, that would just be something that I would be freaking out about all the time. But I think now we have a chance to maybe do this. But my last question for you is very simple. It's actually a two-part question, and that is, what can we do to help you today? And what would you like to offer people to help them?
Um, so today, the most important thing I think is there is so many people out there with disabilities that would like to travel, and I think getting the information out, even if it's not me, but let them know that there is resources and there are people out there to say, hey, look, they'll help you plan your travel, that I am here to help you. I don't charge an extra fee for my services. At least I'm hoping that everybody books with me. Maybe at some point I might have to if, I'm doing a lot of work for free. But essentially, I want to help people make sure that they're able to see the world one trip at a time with whatever they need to, still function and have a daily life. So just making sure that, because 1 in 6 people have some form of a disability, whether it's a physical disability, whether it's a mental or emotional disability, any of those things, anxiety, those are the other things that, depression. And so making sure that if you know somebody that maybe they would want to travel, invite, hey, here's a resource if you need this. Or if you're planning a trip, one of the questions that I like to ask is, who do you know that might want to travel but needs extra assistance? Or is there anybody with a disability that would like to travel as well and maybe go with you? And so then you kind of make it a group thing. And so it just getting the word out that, you can travel, and it doesn't have to be a lot of extra work or extra time that you already have in a busy schedule, and, that I'm there. I would essentially, I am here to help save you time, because your time is precious. In the what is it, entrepreneurial world, is what's your hourly rate? What is your hourly rate worth? And if, your hourly rate is $50 an hour, are you willing to spend 10 hours, a full day's worth of work, to do all of that research? Or would it be better to say, hey, look, I'm going to hire this out. I'm going to have somebody else do that. And, I don't charge for my services other than I get commission when you book through me. And I am here to help you save time, but I'm also here to make sure that you get the best deal possible. So whether that is through all of my suppliers that, I've got a friend that's getting married, and I'm like, hey, look, if you book through me, I can get you there's honeymoon gifts that I can get you. There's these other things, there's these perks that I can get you by booking through a travel agent, because they have those there. But if you book them yourself, you're not going to get those, because this is for the industry resources. So I'm here to save you time, I'm here to save you money, and I'm here to make sure that you can still travel, and it's the trip that you would have planned, but I'm an extension of you. So I'm doing all the heavy lifting, and you just get to go on your trip.
Well, and I would also throw in there that, look, mom and dad, if you're wanting to plan a trip, wouldn't you rather have somebody who
has experience on on traveling with, children with special needs? Or would you just rather have somebody who can guess what you need? I think I'd rather go with the person who's going to go through a checklist to make sure that my needs are all met. So, um, and again, Lori, thank you, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the family one more time. Last question for you is, how do people get a hold of you?
Um, Really easy. I am on the community website. I'm one of the people there. So I'm on the community website. You can also, I have my own website is lcleveradventures.com. So email is Lori at lcleveradventures.com, and I'm all over social media.
There it is. I knew my finger was going to work right. I'm not used to having to use this hand, but right here is how you can get a hold of all of Lori's information. Use the QR code above me, and that'll take you to all of her information. You can get a hold of her there. If you would like an introduction, of course, get a hold of me. I would gladly make the introduction to you and Lori. If you would like to talk to Lori about anything, please have a conversation with her. She is a wonderful, wonderful person just to have a conversation with. Have that virtual cup of coffee, or if you're in the Arizona area, maybe step in and stop in and have a real cup of coffee, and you guys can and talk and again, welcome, Lori. Welcome to the family.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Once So that was Lori Cleverly with Clever Adventures, and we want to welcome her. We want to welcome Aviva. They're both still brand new to the family. We want to welcome you all. Before we let you go, I know this has been a little bit longer show than I anticipated, but we are done for this week. I do want to remind you, next week we will have Les Simpson. The Les Simpson Show returns. Look, you want your sales to increase? Learn how to sell with your brain. Sounds weird? Sounds odd? Sounds normal? But is it? Really, is it? Are you one of those people who thinks that you cannot sell to somebody who's across the little box than you are? Well, then you're wrong, because you can. So join us next week for Les Simpson. And we will continue the story with Les. Hey, one or two last things. Please go to communitypayitforward.us. Get your new Red Friday shirt. I love this design. I think it's a cool design. I love the way that we make it clear. You don't have to support a war. You don't have to. This isn't politically driven. I got my politics, you've got yours. Doesn't matter. These are our kids who give up a little bit of time away from their family. We need to support them. So pick up your new Red Friday shirt, www.communitypayitforward.us. Go all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see in the footer where it says Mall in One. Go to the Mall in One, and you'll be able to find it. Or just type in the search bar Mall in One, and you'll get there. One last thing, we need desperately somebody who works with apps. If you can dedicate 10 hours a month, 5 hours a month to helping us out, just help us maintain the app, get it back up and running, do all the stuff that I need help doing, which is a lot. Please reach out to me, Zak at communitypayitforward.us. That's ZAK at communitypayitforward.us. Please remember, everyone, never shut up, because silence has helped no one. And look, there's somebody out there who needs to hear what you've got to say. There's something that you've been through that's going to change their lives. Remember, if you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. No one needs to go it alone when we all come together. Thank you very much. I'm Zak Clayton, Community Pay It Forward, Come Together, Compass, Impact Podcasting Network. I'll see you on Monday with Footprints Forward.
Say, bring me home. Out alone, you show me the way. You wanna hold the heart of Sunset Boulevard. Bring me here